Today we have the school psychologist with us. We discussed, this is a follow-up on our podcast between the followers in our group. Today we have Haysam and me, Hamza. We discussed in the podcast briefly about mental health and the issues more commonly we see around in society. And today we're going to discuss it with our school psychologist in more detail.
Alright, I'm school psychologist Haysam Jahgra and I'm appointed here as an educational psychologist. So I deal with the students' problem regarding their counseling and whatever they are in their, I deal with their coping skills as well. So, what do you?
Well, ma'am, we wanted to ask you, you've obviously dealt with a lot of children. Do you mainly deal with children?
Yes, I do. I deal with some of the students having they are facing some violence, some kind of violence at home, their domestic violence we can call it. And some of them are slow learners, so I deal with them as well. And some of them are, they are having some personality disorders, which I used to deal with. And the major thing is that I just put their behavioral patterns on the right track, enhancing their coping skills as well. So I used to work with them.
So do you think mental health issues are more common in the younger generation or the older generation right now?
Right now it's more common in younger generation because at this stage kids are exposed to society.
Yeah.
In mental health, we usually we usually touch three main domains. They're social, they're psychological, and they're emotional. So I think adults are more exposed to these things, so they had more problems than the, what do we call it?
Teenagers. So, if you would say, ma'am, is it more common that children nowadays have are more easier prone to mental health? I'm talking about between teenagers and younger children, probably the age of.
There's no specific age actually. So even soon after the birth, the child is put in some kind of environment. So from that very stage, they had the psychological issue. So, there is no specific age for it. So at every stage, we face the psychological problem and we face the stress.
So could you go a bit more in depth on the importance of good mental health?
Okay, will you be more specific about importance?
Yeah, so for a child, let's say, our age, from the age of 10 to 18, let's say. So do you think that, stresses and all other types of mental issues could affect their growth and their mental growth?
Yes, definitely. It's about all about our perception. Whatever we perceive, we think of it, and whatever we think, we feel about it, and whatever we feel, it naturally comes in our actions. What all you can do is, if you are in a stressful situation, or if you don't know how to deal a certain situation, like if exam is going on and you guys are in stress, so you need a coping skills for that. So mental health is going to help you in that regard, that it's going to tell you the way how are you going to cope that stressful situation, and how you could reduce or how you could replace that very situation with a productive, like you can replace it productively. So at that very moment, I would say that yes, mental health is important.
How much of an effect does, say, poor mental health, we're not talking about depression or some of the major illnesses, but like just poor mental health?
For the poor mental health, if there is impairment in your social life,
day-to-day life,
if there is impairment in academic, so that's a bit alarming. So you should consult the psychologist.
So how do you diagnose different mental health issues?
All right. As far as ASD kids are concerned, so we usually see their body language, their flapping, their eye contact, their stimming, their speech. So we diagnose, we in that very situation, our diagnosis is like that. Regarding when we come to the school premises, we had a general observation about the child. I used to sit in their class, I observed them for the whole time in 40 minutes, 40 to 80 minutes of class. I usually take that time. I see their behavior, whether how is he going to deal with their peers, how is he dealing with the teacher, and what about their body, eye contact, their body gestures, all these things included in. Then if I find it alarming, like if he is disruptive towards his friends, or he's a bit, what do we call it, naughty, some sort of that kind of kid, then he used to interrupt teacher in everything, and he used to tease his friends all the time. He keep on discussion in that very 40 minutes. So at that very moment, I just came to know that he might be having some problem.
Is it? I would say, is it a big symptom for people with poor mental health or people with depression to be socially antisocial? I would say maybe antisocial.
Antisocial. Yes, some of the kids are like this. Like if he is not answering for the whole time, the teacher is asking a question, he or she is not answering, and whenever teacher touches him, or whenever teacher come closer to her or him, his eyes start blinking, or he has his voice fainted, like all these type of things. As before I told you that it depends on general observation. Once we observe these things, then we make a baseline for them. So
what do you do if you diagnose them, right? So what happens after that?
After the diagnosis?
After diagnosis, we call their parents. We take their consent first, and then I take them for one-on-one counseling sessions. And there first I go into the depth, creating my own web of questioning. So I go to that specific problem through questionnaire, and then I just, once I identify the problem, I create my goals. Okay, these problems are supposed to sort it out first. And then once I diagnosed, I go to DSM, Diagnostic Statistical Methods. I go there and I match the criteria. Okay, this child had at least 6 of personality traits that is in this DSM-4. So that child is diagnosed for that thing. So then we take measurement for them. Like we make theories, we relate some theories, and we make therapies for them, and then we follow that guidance.
So you obviously touched on domestic violence a bit earlier. What if when you ask the parents, what if they're unresponsive? What if they don't agree to you taking their child?
That's why we sign the consent letter from them. And if the parents, let's say, if we have 2 or 3 cases, not exactly for the domestic violence, but due to their parents, that child is in depression. So we talk to their family, like it's sort of family therapy. And after that family therapy, if it doesn't work, then we take the child in our confidence, and we give him we develop the coping skills in them. If you are in that very specific situation, how are you going to deal with it? So that is
how do you deal with let's say a person is depressed, right? How do you deal with them if their parents say don't give consent, or if the child is unwilling to maybe even sit with a psychologist? How do you deal with that?
All right. The very first thing I would like to clear that if the child is not willing, then it's really very hard for us to take him for the counseling session. Students at your age, mostly if they are in depression, they walk by themselves. They came to us and they just say, "Ma'am, I'm in depression. Kindly help me out in this thing." So that's a bit easy for me, because he already built his will to sort out that problem. But usually we have few cases that if I'm dealing with such a child that whose parents are not supportive, or maybe XYZ, maybe their guardian is not that supportive, or we cannot approach that family, or the child is also not aware of his problem. So we create model lessons for them. So we create a model lesson. At that very moment, we take his friends as well in a group therapy. We can call it group therapy. So we just make him realize what the problem is, like through audio, through videos,
Yeah.
and then asking their peers that what will you do if you are in certain situation. Then with that very thing, that child comes to know, okay, I have this many methods to deal with my situation. Then like by this way we just take that child in a group therapies.
If the child has a bit more serious disorder, like say bipolar disorder, although they're very rare, or if even if there's like psychotic behavior in a child, what do you do with that? Of course, that is more rare in
yeah, it is very rare in it. And secondly, that's the job of psychiatrist. Like that's not my department. A school psychologist normally deal with the neurotic patient.
Yeah.
The one they need counseling. But as far as psychotic is concerned, so that's not my department. Because only the medication is helpful in this thing. So that's not my domain.
So often, children nowadays are afraid of being made fun of by their friends for certain reasons. And I don't know if you're aware, but I've heard at least that some people that you've been taking for group sessions after they went for these group therapy sessions have been like made fun of by their friends,
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do with like that?
I think for that very reason, schools should arrange some kind of orientation. That if the child is walking to the psychologist, it doesn't mean that you should stigmatize that child. That okay, he is having some problem. Everybody have. Like for that very thing, I think we should be having orientation so that every child should be aware of the mental state. And also, by this way, the other student is going to help out that child as well. That okay, he's already not good. Like if we are not good at, like we had some physical issues, we consult doctor. So we should educate our students that if they had some mental problem as well, mental that means it should be very minute. Of course, he is coming to school from a very good families and they are attending their classes, they are good in academic. So it should be at least, it should be a minute problem. So for that very reason, we should educate our students as well that if the child is coming inside and they want me to help them out, so it's not a big deal. So for that very reason, I think school should arrange some kind of awareness programs or orientation.
How do you deal with stigmas, right? Stigmas, of course, you mentioned a big stigma there, but like how do you deal with stigmas on a larger scale? I would say like it's a very big stigma. We took a survey. We've mentioned this before, and we found out that yes, people think that mental health, if people go for lessons, even though if they don't have mental health issues or if they have poor mental health, they are, of course, like you said, blamed or like kind of seen as weak or they're called names. But that's a stigma, right? How do you deal with the stigma in a lesson? Does it make it difficult? How do you deal with it when you're talking to the student actually?
I think there should be some awareness programs for the children. Like we should educate them about these things. That okay, if the child had a problem, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Or like if it's his turn today, it could be tomorrow. Tomorrow it could be your turn as well. Means the stress management. If they are coming for the stress management, doesn't mean that he had some big issues, some big psychological issues. So we should educate our kids for that.
On the other side of that conversation, we have a question that is mental health nowadays used as an excuse more, especially in teenagers? Like if they say this, we want to give the exam, we don't want to go to school because we're depressed. Right? We've seen that in some cases because they're using depression and mental health as an excuse for mental health as an excuse. What would you
How can I judge him? Alright, so I came to know about their eye contact, in which way he's looking. Either he's looking upward right, either he's looking downward. How about his facial muscles? Is it stiff? How about his shoulder? How about his sitting position? So by this way, I came to know he's going to he's constructing some kind of images. If he's looking right upward, and if he's looking downward towards the ground, to the left with hunched shoulders, so it means that he's thinking of some kind of negative dialogues going inside. By this we came to know he's lying or he's not lying. Because some of the kids just walk in for the fun. Okay, then we had a problem. And at that very moment I said, no, we don't have that that's a problem, because I came to know about when I used to discuss something with them, and I got this eye contact gesture, so I came to know he doesn't have a problem, he's absolutely right. So it's just.
So I think we'll just start wrapping it up. I have one more question. But in today's society, social media it's growing the use of social media, and with that, cyberbullying has become a bigger and bigger problem. How do you deal with a student who's maybe getting cyberbullied? If they come to you, say that someone online is teasing me or doing something I don't like, how would you deal with that?
Okay, as far as these online things are concerned, I think I should take help from their parents first. I should call on their parent that, okay, keep check on him if he or she is having, or maybe do not give that much need, the child should not be overstimulated with that stuff. If there is no overstimulation, then I don't think so that he will be bullied online or he will be he will not be involved in such kind of things. So first of all, I'll approach their parents, and after that, I'll develop the coping skill in him. Okay, for the future, if it happens, so how are you going to approach it? So by this way,
Thank you, ma'am, for giving us time. That was all our questions, and I think you've answered them in quite good detail and explained it to the audience. And is there anything else?
Thank you so much.